welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to be back for another evening, our final evening. Tomorrow we have the ribbon cutting, but that's an on-site event. This is our final time together online. I'm your host for this week, OU Entrepreneurship 2021. Kirk Nugent, that's my name. I forgot to say that. So excited to have you guys here and be back for another session. Man, I was reading through the bios, the little blurbs that were sent in by our panelists this evening. They're prepared, they're backstage, they're ready to go, and they'll be talking about their experiences with entrepreneurship. And I'm telling you, I am impressed. I don't feel like I belong in this room. I want to encourage you right now to take a moment and share this stream, all right? To start a watch party on Facebook, to tag some folks in the comments who you know are aspiring entrepreneurs who really resonate with the conversation that we're about to have. And as we get started, we are going to begin with a devotional thought from Chaplain Pileggi. So I'm going to bring him on screen now. Excited that we have him here with us. There we go. Chap, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing, Kirk?
Good. I'm doing well, man. Listen, the messages have been phenomenal thus far this week. We had Dr. Sabas on Monday. We had the live show for How It All Works, my show, on Monday evening. We had the pitch competition on Tuesday. We had Welcome to Wakanda with Brandon Sadler yesterday. And then yesterday evening, afternoon, I should say, we had Founders of Civilization with Mayor Matthew Pygott. Absolutely groundbreaking events. The information that was shared was phenomenal, and we're excited to close things out with this forum on entrepreneurship. Pastor Pileggi, Chaplain Pileggi, good friend, the time is yours. Talk to us about entrepreneurship.
Thank you so much, Kirk. And it's been fun sharing my experience in entrepreneurship throughout the course of the week and finding ways to give you practical examples of how you want to allow your faith to even govern the way you do business. I mean, it's a blessing to be able to rely on the wisdom of God even as you go out and do business, because that in itself is a faith journey. So I shared a couple of stories from the very beginning, the inception of the business, and we learned about the need for perseverance and endurance. On the second devotional thought, we learned about the need for self-control, especially at times when the business is doing well, practicing that self-control. And tonight, I just wanted to discuss briefly two experiences that I had that taught me the need for discernment. I mean, discernment is a wonderful gift to have, to exercise, especially when you're in business, because you're going to be confronted with all types of situations, and based on what you choose to do can have a very positive effect on your business or a very negative effect on the business. And so why not depend on God for those types of decisions, because you want to do well. You never know the decision that you can make, how it can set your business up for future success, for future growth, or do the opposite and have a detrimental effect on your business. So I just want to share a couple of experiences about that. I can remember, and for those of you who are just catching up or weren't here, I had a for-profit business that I ran with my father, and it had the potential of becoming quite lucrative. And for a couple of years, it was. We grossed over $1 million a year. And so I came in with the express intent of developing and growing the business so that he can sit back and kick his feet up in retirement. Things didn't turn out the way that he expected. And although there were years of tremendous growth, there were some decisions that were made along the way. Now, my father was not relying on God, but we have the blessing of doing that. And so I just wanted to share a couple of experiences tonight on why we need discernment as we're making these decisions for our business. So I can remember I was in New York. We were based in New York. There were a couple of weeks where it rained, like it's about to rain here if you're in Huntsville. It's about to rain for like a week straight. Well, it was raining there for like 2 weeks straight. I mean, just buckets and buckets of rain. It was not letting up. As I'm seeing that, I'm saying, okay, this is going to equal to very good business, because we had a disaster restoration business. And so if there's flooding, we know we're about to get flooded with calls. And so I'm thinking about it. Okay, we need to be ready. So, of course, we put everybody on high alert, all the employees. We're probably going to be working 12 plus hour days, maybe even 24. Because one of the things you got to do, especially when you're developing your business and you're developing it to the point where you want it to be established, another gift that you want to practice is that of self-sacrifice. Because I'm telling you that if you really want to get your business to where you want it to go, you have to grind, and you have to grind hard,
Mm.
especially in those first few years as you're establishing yourself. So we knew this was going to be one of those seasons. And of course, the calls start coming in. People were flooded all over the place, and we're getting calls left and right. And it was such bad flooding that FEMA came in. And once FEMA comes in, we knew that was good for our business, because they start handing out checks, and so customers are getting $10,000 checks, 15, 20, $30,000 checks to cover the damage on their homes that they cannot cover on their own, because insurance companies only covered certain types of damage. So we were ready for that. We had crews going out. I can remember nights when I'm getting home at 11 o'clock, and as I'm on my way home, I'm getting a call from another insurance company. We had another job. So we're turning right back around, and we're working into 2, 3 in the morning and starting again the next day at 6. So we're getting all this business. But there were two experiences that I remember, where I really needed discernment. So there was this one place I got called to, and the man's house got flooded. He had two properties, and so in my experience, I'm looking at it. I'm kind of eyeballing it to see, okay, what kind of contract is this going to be? How much is this job going to be worth? And so I'm looking at it, but all of our crews were out, all of our equipment was out. We had a lot of equipment, but we didn't have enough to handle that volume of business. And so I'm thinking on the fly, what do I do? What do I do? And then I just get this impression, well, this is a really good job. Just go out and get more equipment. Go buy more equipment. Contact your distributor. Make a trip. So I'm hopping in one of the service vehicles. We're driving about 3.5 hours to the distributor to purchase equipment. Now the equipment range from a couple of $100s for certain pieces of equipment to a couple of thousand. I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be worth it. So get the equipment, hop back in the truck, drive back down, and as we get there, we set everything up. I didn't want to lose the job. They were insured by State Farm. I knew they paid out quick, and so I just did the job. We're spending there about, I don't know, maybe 9 days or so. It was over. A week later, 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks later, I'm getting a check in the mail. Was it worth the trip? Was that a right decision to make? Yeah, it was a $25,000 job. It was worth it. The overhead was low, and we made a lot of profit off that job. So that was a good decision. I was glad I made it in the moment. I was glad that even though it was a lot, I mean, I'm driving out there and driving to the house to deliver the equipment at midnight, and then on the way home getting another call and going right back out. But it set the business up for success. But then there are other times where you got to make a decision, and I can remember this one time where it wasn't the right decision, and it had a negative effect on the business. So there was this other job that we did, and it was a very involved job, and the total for the job, I would say, was about $40,000. But there were some mistakes made along the way by some of the contractors that were brought in to restore the home. And so we had to bring in another contractor. So I had to reach out to a different contractor who I knew could do a good job. He came out, he looked at the work, he said, oh, yeah, this is no problem. I can get this done. So he came in, he got it done. But because we had to correct the mistake, of course, this is now eating into the profit, right? And so eventually the job gets done. The customer is holding on to some of the money. He doesn't want to let some of the money go, because he said, well, this has been a little frustrating to me. My father is deciding what he wants to do with it. And there's going to be times where you land some really good contracts, and then you don't get paid as quickly as you're expecting. And so what do you do in moments like that? Well, of course, you definitely want to make sure that you apply enough pressure. You definitely want to follow up and make sure you get paid. But at the same time, you have to play it right, because you also don't want to burn a bridge, especially if you can build a good partnership with this particular client. If you push too hard, or if you get to the point where you can damage or fray the relationship, then you want to make sure, okay, I want to push hard, but in certain instances, you might just have to eat it. In other words, there are some jobs that you might have to eat. At least in my profession, there was. In my business, there was. And let me explain what I mean. So, yes, this was a $40,000 job. Father was upset that the money wasn't coming back. I said, well, hey, let's take a second. Let's think about it. I had built a good relationship with the homeowner. I had a good relationship with the insurance company. Let's take a second and think about what we want to do here. But he was bent. He said, nope, I'm contacting the attorney, and he's going to do what he's going to do, and he's going to put a stop on his finances until the man pays up, because I know this guy has money. So that's what he decided to do. Contacted the lawyer. Next thing you know, he gets a judgment, freezes the man's assets. I get a call immediately from first the customer, and he's like, "What's going on? You know, my assets were frozen. I didn't know the judgment had already gone through." I said, "Hold on, just wait a second. Let me talk to my father." So I'm talking to my dad at the same time, getting calls from the insurance company. It turns out that this customer, on that particular weekend when his assets were frozen, was attending a funeral for a family member. So that wasn't a good look. So of course he's calling now the insurance company, and he's complaining, "These guys just froze my assets." And he's explaining his side of the story. Now the insurance company wants to keep him as a customer. Do they want to keep us as a vendor? Now, mind you, this is a company that we used to gross at least $250,000 a year from. So do you eat some of that profit from this one job, or so that you can keep that relationship with this particular vendor that you know sends you plenty of business all the time? Or do you just eat a little bit so that you can maintain that relationship? This was a situation where I think discernment, if my father was leaning on some discernment, if he was a man who was led by the Holy Spirit, he would have taken a little time to pray and tried to work something out in a different kind of way. But as a result of that, we potentially lost one of our biggest customers, which was MetLife Insurance, and they paid out fast, and they paid out a lot. And so that's just a couple of situations there. Now your situation is different. Everybody's is. It's nuanced, right? Depending on where you're at, whether you're profit or non-profit or for-profit, you know, you might be providing a different kind of service, but there are going to be situations where you're going to want to rely on the wisdom of God. You're going to want to turn to him and say, what's the right play to make here? What do I do? Now, we were talking about collecting money, but it could be different kinds of decisions that you just don't feel right about, and something's just not sitting right. You want to take that thing to God. I mean, his like we've been saying, his knowledge is not limited. And so those were a couple of experiences that I've had. I'm sure as you launch in your career, or as you continue in your career as an entrepreneur, you're going to run into situations where you're just scratching your head a little bit, or something just doesn't feel right. Take that thing to God. Let him lead you. Let him guide you. Let him direct you. If he's the one that called you on this journey, then he will take care of you every step of the way, so that when you're faced with decisions like this that can have a potentially great impact or a negative impact on your business, you can rely on him. So that even if you're saying, oh, wait, this is the direction to go, and you start to go down that direction and things seem to go south, well, God, this is the direction you told me to go in. So I'm expecting you to turn this thing around, and he will turn that thing around. It may not be in the way that we expect it, but the joy, the ability, the privilege that we have on relying on God for all of these decisions is just one that you should not pass up. So you're not just an entrepreneur, you're a Christian entrepreneur. And the knowledge that God has for you is not just for your salvation, it's also for your success in whatever he's called you to do. Let's have a quick word of prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for your wisdom, which is not limited, it's unlimited. And according to your word, you give it out without partiality. And so we pray that those of us who are in business, or have been in business, or will be in business, that we would take full advantage of what you provide to us, because in any area of our life, Lord, we can look to you for guidance. We can look to you for discernment, so that we're able to make decisions that are ultimately best for us. So please bless us with this knowledge. Thank you for this program on tonight. Bless the rest of the proceedings. Bless the panelists. Bless everything that will be discussed. And of course, bless our audience. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. What a powerful word, chap. Thank you so much, man. Some awesome testimonies, man. We're gonna have to wrap a little bit afterwards, Doc. I had no idea that you had those kinds of stories in your pocket,
man.
Yeah. That's amazing stuff,
that, man. And tomorrow for and I mean, I'm sure as I've been talking about these contracts landing $30,000-$40,000 jobs, it's like, yeah, why'd you step away from that and make a lot more money at Oakwood or in ministry?
In
and
ministry.
yeah, so I'll tell you how the story ends and how I ended up transitioning out of that business, because that was a faith move too. So we'll finish
Wow.
that up at the ribbon cutting tomorrow, and that's
Tomorrow.
that's an amazing part of the story as well.
Oh wow, I'm looking forward to that, man. I'm hoping that we can catch a piece of that so we can share that with our online audience as well. Thank you so much, Chap, for admonishing us, for challenging us, for allowing us to see the connections between what we do in entrepreneurship and our faith, and our the Word of God, and how that impacts what we can do. Thank you so much. Want to get Stanley Lelane on screen. Want to bring him on right now. And Chap, we're gonna drop you back, but thank you so much again for the message, and of course, we'll see you in the comments.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So Stanley Lelane from Lelane Consulting Group, and it starts now. The happy hour of finance and business has over 10 years of leadership in corporate America before starting his own business career. And Stanley will serve as our moderator for today's panel. For this distinguished panel of guests, I'm going to read their blurbs, their bios before bringing them on screen. But I wanted to get our moderator on screen first. Stanley, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Kurt.
I'm doing good too, man. I just realized that I need to upgrade my mic, man. Your mic is great, man. It sounds like you're right here with me in the room, man. It's amazing.
Maybe I
It's
need
amazing.
to turn it down a bit.
No,
But
no. It's clean. It's clean. It's clean.
Okay.
Man, so tonight's panel is eclectic. They span a
Extraordinary.
wide. Oh man, it's extraordinary. Yeah, let me start from Miss Kay Brown. Kay Brown is a third generation owner of Dean's Barbershop in Portland, Oregon. She and her family have the remarkable history of owning one of the oldest Black-owned businesses on the West Coast. And Kay Brown is one of our panelists in this evening's discussion. Next, we have Kavon Massenberg. Kavon Massenberg, I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name wrong. I apologize, sir. I know I tried to get that thing right earlier, man. But he's a social entrepreneur that recently raised $700,000 for his clothing line, Soul Purpose. He's a motivational powerhouse that has shared the stage with Tony Robbins. And he has shared a video. I'm not certain that we're going to be able to get that into today's program, but this is somebody you're really going to want to pay attention to throughout our discussion this evening. Then we also have Jana Peterson. Jana Peterson is an award-winning artist and the owner of the Jana P Company, an art directing / creative consulting firm. She's also creative executive director for 57 Northampton, a mental health advocacy organization, co-founder of HBCU Seed, entrepreneur in residence at OU Launchpad. This is a good list. But little known fact, she was made into a mural here in Huntsville. Right here in Huntsville. So right here in Huntsville, there is a mural, huge mural. It's iconic in the city of Huntsville. And that mural is of Jana Peterson. So we're excited to have her here as well. Then we also have Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis is a serial entrepreneur. He is entrepreneur in residence also at OU Launchpad, and that's who's putting on these events for us this week. He's also the co-founder and managing partner of the VC arm of HBCU Seed. And more information can be found at hbcuseed.com. Lastly, rounding out our panel, we have Mr. Frederick Bussie. Frederick has worked for more than 15 years in the music entertainment industry as a songwriter, producer, publicist, marketing director, and artist manager, spanning the hip hop, gospel, R&B, and pop genres. Having launched several businesses, including Icon Status, a digital marketing and branding agency, he is currently developing several other ventures as well. And you can find him at frederickbussie.com. So I'm going to take a second to bring all of our panelists on screen, and we will turn the time over to Mr. Lelane for our discussion today. Welcome our esteemed panelists to the discussion.
Hey there.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
All right. So before we begin, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us today. It is going to be an awesome show because based off the bio alone is just amazing. Everybody has something to share, some type of experience, and I know everybody's going to be enjoy every moment of it. Before we begin, I'd just like to start off by saying, if anyone, we're going to go in selection. If you guys don't mind sharing something that someone may not know about you, something small that you don't mind sharing. So that way we could warm up the crowd. Who wants to start first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
You might not know this about me, but Jana's my cousin.
All right, T, you're next since we're starting in that order.
Okay, perfect. My name is Terrell Davis. One thing that someone might not know about me is that I'm a pilot. I love to fly planes. That's something I like to do in spare time.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Kavon?
Hello, everybody. It's pronounced Kavon. And something that they don't know, since Terrell just shared that, I actually get my first pilot license on Sunday. I mean, my first pilot lesson on Sunday.
Oh,
to learn to become a pilot.
Wow, that's okay. We got some pilots in the house.
I think this is a good time.
All right, Frederick?
Well, let's see. I've flown any planes. What's something that people don't know? Well, I just recently had a song released with Chrisette Michelle that I co-wrote with another Oakwood graduate, Sean Simmons.
Congratulations. Yeah.
I love that chair.
Congratulations. Yeah. Janaea?
Jana.
Jana, I apologize.
My first job out of college, I was working with celebrities, so I would like interview Erykah Badu, Kim Coles, Tamika Frazier, like different models and songstresses and things like that. So that was what I did straight out of college.
Oh, wow. And then you transition into what you're doing now?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. All right. Welcome once again. This is the Entrepreneurship Week, and we're here to provide some experiences, some knowledges that we can share to everyone that's starting, whether they're starting out from school, because we have a lot of college students that's already starting off their careers, and anything that we can share and provide with them, I know it will add value to their lives, and it'll give them a leg up on the competition, because that's what we want them to do. We want them to start ahead. So if you have some kind of encouragement that you would like to share to start off, that some kind of struggle that you overcame in the beginning that made you kept going, because everybody has the scarcity mindset, and how did you develop that winning mindset to keep you going?
I would say like the thing that kind of kept me going is being around people that are kind of like-minded. I feel like that helps kind of prepare, but kind of to guide you and keep you focused. Is if you're around other people that have similar goals or have the same entrepreneurship headset, allows you to kind of make it easier for you to kind of stay on the same path, and encourages you to challenge each other and kind of stick with what you're doing. So when I first got to college and was around other people like that, it did kind of aid or help me into staying focused and, starting certain things that I had going on.
That's good. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things that I used to say back in the day, and I always say now, is that there's always a way from point A to point B. And so one of the things that really kind of got me started and keeps me going is when there's something that I want, no matter how lofty it is, or even if it's not that big of a deal, I don't have to just sit there and think it's cool. I can actually do that if I want to. So just knowing that there's nothing that I can't do, if I just have to be creative enough, optimistic enough, adaptable enough in order to make it to that point, and that keeps me going.
That's a valid point. Frederick?
Yeah, I would say that having clarity and being able to simplify. When you're clear on where you want to go and you can simplify it down to a simple process versus making it more complicated, then that allows you to continue to see your way forward, right? If you wake up every morning and you're unclear about where it is you're going, why you're doing what you're doing, it's going to be tough to find that motivation. And I find a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're stuck in that mode, is simply because they're just not clear on what it is that they're building, what they're building towards.
That's an interesting point, because you have to break it down to the simplest form. And, a project can become overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And once you start breaking it down to little fragments and pieces, and you can start tackling these little projects one at a time, then that way you're able to get the better clear picture of the concentration that you need to get everything resolved. Because when you see the project as a whole, sometimes it could be challenging and overwhelming. But if you, like, to your point, where you break it down to little pieces, then you're able to see the vision a lot clearer, because now you're putting the pieces together slowly and you start building. Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll chime in off of that. I would say to piggyback off of Frederick of that clarity, I talk about clarity in your life, like your purpose. What is your purpose in life? Because when things get hard and you don't have a massive reason of why you're doing what you're doing, then it's easy to back out or go on to the next thing. But for me, what's always kept me going, even throughout the hard times of grinding and trying to get my business started, was that I had a purpose for it, right? I want to inspire billions of people to discover their purpose, and that never changed. So all my actions are in alignment with that. All my actions are in alignment with inspiring billions of people to discover their purpose. And when the hard days come and everything, I just hold on to that. I hold on to that vision. I hold on to that purpose. So I say, like, clearly define the purpose, clearly define the impact you want to have. And when the days get hard, if you hold on to that, then the vision, the future of impacting these lives is greater than whatever adversity is in your way at that time.
Let me ask you this. Chap touched on something when he said you have to trust the process. Kim, what do you say about that?
My situation is a lot different than everybody else's because I kind of fell into entrepreneurship. It wasn't something that I had focused on. And so I would say that primarily, like, my grandmother was a stylist, my grandfather, my mom, and then me. And I ran from that situation. I didn't want to be part of that because I grew up in the salon. I grew up in the barbershop. I was like, I don't want to be there anymore. But when it came down to it, it's about finding your passion, finding your purpose, just like Kavon said. You have to really want to do something. And when you do it, you do your best. And if you do your best at all in any situation, you're always going to be successful in it, regardless of, even if you end up not being there anymore. If you do your best, that's all you can do. And so we've been in the business in the same location. The Black community has changed. It's not even the Black community no more, but we're still there because we always do our best. And I think that ties into everything. It ties into everything that everyone just said just there.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely did. I want to go to a question from one of the students, Joshua Smith. And Joshua's posed a question. He is a community.
Hello, my name is Joshua Smith. I'm a communications and social welfare major. One question I had was, what are the top 3 skills needed to become a successful entrepreneur?
Clear. The question was, what are the top 3 skills needed to become an entrepreneur?
I would say the top 3. Oh, sorry. So
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I would say the top 3 things to become an entrepreneur is to really, I would say, just kind of make sure you have your purpose. That's kind of going back to what you were saying. It's like you kind of have to know what your passion is, or what that's really like your center, I would say, is like the number one thing to make sure, because you could put a lot of, they always say, if you love what you do, you never feel like work. So I feel like having that purpose or having that kind of destiny to make sure that you're supposed to solve that problem, and you don't want to get into a situation where you're not. So I would say kind of making sure that you're the main one doing it. I would say the other thing is just making sure that you have a community that is like around you, really supporting you, getting you to that next level. Because I don't feel like anybody's self-made. I feel like everyone has had someone along their journey to make them successful. And you have to really tap into those mentors, those colleagues, even some of your first clients, whatever the case might be, wherever the case might be, to make it successful. And I always say another thing that's always allowed me to be successful is try to always close a deal and money always follows. So that pretty much means, like, a lot of times we have, as being an entrepreneur, you say, hey, I don't have money for this, I need this, I need that. Sometimes you just have to kind of go out and like go and close that deal, and everything else kind of falls into place. So kind of go out there. So whether you're doing a service or whatever you're trying to do, at the end of the day, it's about like going on and proving yourself that you can do it. And most of the time that other things will kind of fall into place. So those are kind of like the three things that I felt like would kind of help me out in my journey.
Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I would like to add to that. I don't know if I can come up with three things, but I know that for one, adaptability. Everybody has, the goal when they start a business. This is what I want to do. This is the impact that I want to have on the world. No matter how good your business plan is, no matter what team you have around you, it's never going to be a straight shot. It's never just going to be from point A to point B. There's going to be little detours. There's going to be failures. There's going to be naysayers and people that you thought you could trust that are, it's going to be so many pit stops on that journey. You need to be able to adapt, take the situation, learn from it, but be able to keep going. Use it to learn, use it to get stronger, but be able to keep going. I don't think that there's any one of us on screen right now that has made it to where we are without being some form of adaptable.
Yeah.
I'll say the first thing the three that came to my mind is number one is awareness. Is that you can't change something that you're not aware of, right? It could be changing and pivoting with your company. It could be changing something within yourself, a personal limitation that is holding you back to being the best version of yourself, right? Really just having that awareness mentally, physically, spiritually, to kind of know if you're aligned with your business, aligned with yourself. I'll say number two that came to mind was resourcefulness. Is that being an entrepreneur and wanting to have a startup, you have to be resourceful. It's never a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. So it's not about, I don't have the money, I don't have the people. If you're resourceful, you're going to find it. You're going to find the money. If you're resourceful, you're going to find the mentor, you're going to find the peer group, you're going to find the situation that you need to be in order to make it a success. And then number three is belief. Just belief in your business, belief in yourself, belief in your purpose, belief in the impact that you're wanting to make and the difference that you're wanting to make with your startup. And I think there's so many aspects that fall into it, right? There's so many things in entrepreneurship, but those three first came to my mind was awareness, resourcefulness, and belief.
Can I echo something really quickly? Because I like what you touched on resources. One of the things I 100% agree on is if you don't have the resources that's needed to execute on whatever it is that you're pursuing, sometimes you have to put in the sweat equity in. You have to put in that extra hard work because somebody may have more resources than you, but that's when you're going to have to put in the extra work. You're going to have to work harder than that person to get some type of a advantage. Because if not, there's a few people out there that have connections, they have money, they have all these things, but what's going to separate? You shouldn't stop on your dreams, right? Because you don't have all these items. You should find other ways to put in the work and figure it out until you get to that point where you can match up. Till then, I agree with you 100%. Resources is very important, but it's also the amount of effort that you put in. But go ahead. Who else?
Kim, were you going to go?
Go ahead.
No, ladies first.
Thank you. I was just going to say that I think it's a combination of all of those things. I think that I sometimes say to myself, I don't know how I've done this for 30 years and never had, I hear people talk about, oh, my husband and I can't pay for this and we can't pay for that, but they have 2 jobs and they're doing this they're taking care of everything and they can't do it. And I'm like, I believe in myself so hard that there's no way that I could go to work and then no clients are scheduled. I mean, I'm booked the whole day and then they all cancel. Then I just figured that the universe wants me to relax today. Because I always know that it's anything I want can come to me. I can create I'm the master of my destiny. I can create whatever I want. And my grandmother did that in the 40s in Portland, Oregon. My mother did it in the 70s and the 80s, and then I'm doing it now. And we're just going to go into the future. So the thing about it is just putting all of yourself into what it is you want. But it has to be your passion. If it's not your passion, it'll go by the wayside. Because I see people all the time coming to the business and they want to start off and they want to be the biggest hairstylist. They want to be a celebrity stylist. But we've been here for 65 years.
Wow.
I'm not a celebrity stylist, but I'm a celebrity in my own right. And if you believe in yourself, I mean, that's the most amazing thing. I listen to all of you guys talking, and I'm getting so proud to hear us doing the things that we're doing, because, and you guys are all in different types of, different fields, and you're doing amazing things. And it's because that's what you want to do. If you didn't want to do it, you wouldn't be there. You know what I'm saying? So I think that as entrepreneurs, there's only the three things is desire, passion for your job, and hard work. And it is hard work regardless of what you're doing. I get up since pandemic, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm at the salon at 7, but I get off at 1 o'clock. Back 2 years ago, getting off at 1 o'clock, I would have never thought of it, but now it is. And then I take care of my mom as well. But it's just the things that you do in this business, and all entrepreneurship is you do it for the love of what you do, and not necessarily for the money, because the money's gonna come. Money's energy. It comes, it goes. You know, we're gonna get it regardless. You know, we gotta survive. So at the end of the day, those three things to me, like I said, will keep you going. It's kept us going. And I'm 60 years old, and I'll act like I'm 25.
Yeah, let's clap for that. All right, who else?
So I was just going to boil it down to one thing, because I think all the other panelists made some great points. I think that the number one skill you have to have is understanding your gift. We're all created with a special and unique and powerful gift. Your gift is your identity. Your gift is your purpose. It's why you're here, right? And so whatever kind of business you start, whatever kind of job you have, it doesn't matter. Your gift is how you manifest the success that you want in your life. And I liken it to a bird that knows how to fly. It's already born with wings, right? But it has to discover that it has the wings to be able to do that. And there's a performance coach who talks about the fact that negative thoughts are 4 to 7 times more powerful than positive thoughts, right? So the key to being successful, and many times, and especially performing under pressure when things the rubber hits the road, is simply not thinking negative thoughts, right? So when you're in your gift, you are simply performing as you are designed to perform. And so you don't have to worry about all the other noise, all the other things that are coming against you, because you are pursuing what you were designed to pursue. So it's like birds don't have performance anxiety, right? They're not worried about the wind fluctuations or the storm or things like that. I got wings, I'm going to fly, period. So I think that if we discover and focus on our gift, and we can discover the way that we can soar above all the other calamities and disasters and catastrophes that are going to come, and you can really find your own 10,000, 20,000 foot view, if you will. And I just wanted to quickly dovetail on what you said, Stanley, about resourcefulness, right? The most powerful resource that we have, and I know as Black people, a lot of times we get stuck thinking that, well, we don't have the money, or we don't have the network, or we don't have this or that. But the most powerful resource that any of us have as entrepreneurs is what other people want. If you help other people get what they want, you can develop the resources for anything that you want to do. And so sometimes we'll get stuck in our head because we're thinking about what we don't have, or what we want. But if you focus on what other people want, then that's all the resource you need, because that's the leverage that you can use to create all the other opportunities that you need.
Absolutely. Adding value is the most important thing. But then you have to know exactly what to Kim's point, a lot of people do work hard. We don't want to take that away from anybody, because you could go to a 9 to 5 and work hard.
Right.
But working hard in your passion and working hard in achieving a goal is completely different thing. And that's when you have to put in your energy in. And to your point, you're absolutely right. Adding value to someone, and not thinking about yourself, but really thinking about how can I make this person benefit from what I may have. Then that's when to your point, you definitely get a leverage, and you're not looking at the resources from that point. You're looking at what can I give, right?
Right.
So I definitely agree. Joshua, I hope that answered your question. We're going to go to the next person. The next question is from David Reed.
My name is David Reed, and I'm a biochemistry and Spanish double major. And my question is, how do you market your business, and what tactics have been most successful?
This wasn't clear. David Reed is a biochemistry and Spanish double major, and his question is, how do you market your business and what has been successful?
I can jump on this.
Absolutely.
So there's a couple of things that you have to do when you're marketing your business. One is you got to know who your customer is. You got to know who your ideal customer is. A lot of people, when they're starting a business, they're starting again thinking about what they want to build and not who they're building it for, what the problem is that they're solving. And then you need to niche down as far as you can, like get as specific as you possibly can about who that client is, who that customer is. Like what are the problems they're having, but what is the conversation that's going on in their head? And then you got to find a way to get into that conversation in their head through your marketing, right? Because the marketing is pre-selling the business or the product or the service. So you know what that conversation is. So I would think like in the case of Kim, right? She does hair. She knows that her customers, her clients are thinking a certain thing. They want to have a certain feeling, a certain feeling about themselves. They want to look a certain way. Maybe it's for a certain event or because that's just who they are, but they want to come across as a certain identity and they have this feeling inside of themselves. So she's going to speak to that client in that way, whether it's through pictures, whether it's through posts on social media, whatever the case may be. She's going to help that ideal client to see themselves as being able to achieve this identity of this perspective of themselves or the one that other people will have of them through her marketing. She's going to tell that story in a way that allows them to see themselves as the hero. So they come in one way, but they know they're going to walk out of there as Beyonce or Janet Jackson,
Right.
whoever it is they want to be. That's your plug.
I like that a lot. Who else want to add value to that?
Yeah, I'll add on.
I
I'll add on to that comment of not only just having your target, but making sure you advertising the platform they receive it. So like you mentioned about like how they want to see themselves, but being able to find out like, are they on social media? You know, are they print? Like whatever your target audience is, making sure that you know the platforms they normally like receive that information in. And that also goes with credibility. So that means that if you're dealing with a certain target marketing, you know that's how they credit your type of work. Make sure it appears in that same type of platform when it comes to marketing. So that could be social media, that could be website, that could be them seeing a sign like outside signs, wherever that is, making sure you know exactly what platforms you're trying to reach them at, because you don't want to miss that. You don't want to be all on social media and your client is like doesn't even like download phones. If you're trying to advertise senior citizen homes and you know you're advertising that on social media, that might miss them. So you know, just kind of knowing those platforms is extremely key. I'll just add that onto that.
Kavon, I think this is right up your alley. Give me 1 second. I'd just like to hear from him.
I would say the best is authenticity, man. It's like when you come from talking about marketing and getting your brand out there and putting yourself out there is authentic. You know, is making sure that you have a strong value proposition, a strong sense of who you are as a brand, who you are as the entrepreneur, right? Representing the brand. And staying true to that, like people buy into brands and people buy into people as well. You know, you want to make sure that it's all in alignment, and the easiest way to make sure it's always in alignment is just to always be authentic. So I'll say that authenticity.
Janaea?
It's Jana, but I think that
I'm gonna get it next time. I'm gonna get it.
To add on to that point with authenticity, I think I can approach it from 2 different points. I run a nonprofit as well as the Jana P Company, which is the art consulting agency that I just started. Now with the nonprofit, we've done a lot of different marketing tactics, but I realized that nothing has been more effective than telling a story. So, we can tell people, we offer free therapy for people that don't have access to mental health therapy. We can say that, but it doesn't make the point like talking about, and this is just a name I'm throwing out. This is not an actual person, but like Patty, and Patty had this problem and we were able to get Patty therapy and this is what it's done for her, and telling that story and putting a face on what it is that we do has been really, really beneficial. One of the most beneficial things that we have done with the nonprofit. From the Jana P company side, which is a for-profit, the reason why I'm actually decided to make it into an actual business is because the way that I've been getting business for the past several years has been word of mouth. And to that, I have to say it's a marketing tactic in a sense. We know that word of mouth is probably one of the best ways to actually get the message out and to get reliable customers, because people are going to listen to their friends and what they say and their suggestions more than they'll listen to an ad or something like that. And so to that point, you want to make sure that everything you do, even if it's just one job and you feel like it's nothing, it's beneath you, or you don't like the client, or you don't like whatever it is, make sure that you do it well. Make sure that you do that thing well so that they will talk about you and promote you to the next person. So
I just want to piggyback just real quick, because that's what you just said was so important, is storytelling. Like the way that I was able to raise capital, I didn't have the most perfect business model. I didn't have the most perfect track record or anything like that. I didn't go to school, like backstory, like I've got involved in the streets, I've been to jail, I've been shot, right? I'm not an HBCU graduate, none of that. But I was able to raise $100,000 from $800,000 from my company because of storytelling. It's that storytelling, right? There's a book by Peter Guber called Tell to Win, and it's all about storytelling. And every interaction is a chance to tell a winning story. And in a winning story, people want to be the hero in your story, right? Somebody mentioned that. I think it was Frederick or T-Time, one of you guys. But people want to be the hero in your story. So if you're able to put a story out there that people could see themselves as the hero in, then they're going to want to get involved. They're going to want to get involved. They're going to want to support you. They're going to want to offer you their time, their resources, and everything. So all the mentors that I have, the advisors, the investors, it's all came because of storytelling. It didn't come because I have this track record of knowing how to grow companies or anything else. It came predominantly because of storytelling. Everything else is important as well. But if you can't clearly articulate and tell a story that captivates somebody and gets somebody involved and they want to see this thing through and they want to see how it plays out, then it's not going to win. So storytelling, Jenna, how you just said that is important. It's one of the biggest things that got me to where I'm at right now is being able to truly storytell.
And let me quickly dovetail off of what Jana said too, in that we know the referrals are the number one way for most people to buy, to get new clients, but few companies actually have systems in place for referrals, like entrepreneurs, right? You need to have a system that automates your referral getting, right? Capture those stories and those testimonials so you can stack those. And so when people come, they see so much social proof and they're almost funneled into that process where they become automatic referrals for you in a way, right? You systemize that. That's how you can grow much more easily and much more efficiently with the marketing. You're not spending as much money because your clients are doing all that selling for you. And like to Kavon's point, they are doing the marketing. They're telling that story because movies we all do it ourselves. Like you go see a movie, right? You want to go and tell all your friends to go see this movie that you really love, right? So the company doesn't have to do any additional. Once they plant the seed and they get you to see it, they know that other people will go see it as well because their friends are going to tell their friends. Same thing with music, and it just goes on and on and on. So if, like to Jana's point, if you are delivering on your promise with your service or your product, right, then you're going to get those referrals, but you need to also have a built-in system to be able to get that story out and tell that story so you're not wasting your money. I mean, it's free advertising, but you're paying for it up front anyway. So why not get the exponential value on the back end?
I agree with you with the automation. I agree with everything. Everything all the panelists just said just now was amazing because number one, I'm going to touch on three piece that each of you guys brought up. One, the automation is a great tool. When you can automate something, then that way you can focus on other things, right? And you have something that's working for you. You have a process in place that's actually taking care of everything. The storytelling is an amazing tool. That is one amazing tool. And by the way, I saw the video, and Kavon is like amazing video because it tells a story in like 15. I don't even know how long it was, like 15 seconds or 30 seconds. I don't remember, but it was amazing. Right. So yes, I agree with the storytelling, and that's a valuable tool. The other thing, no, waking up, putting your efforts in every single day, even when you don't want to. Even if you don't like the client. I remember there was an athlete I was watching on ESPN, and they were asking one of the athletes. They said, "Why are you putting that much effort every single day? People know you already." And he said, "I think it was Michael Jordan. I believe it was Michael Jordan or Kobe, one of those two." And one of the response or the reply was, "Because you never know, there might be somebody that's watching me for the first time, and I want to make that good impression on them." So I totally agree with that, 100%. All right. David Reed, I hope that answered your question, and we're gonna move on to the next one. This is so far is probably like I'm enjoying this a lot. This is really great. We're gonna go to Dana Wallace.
Hey, so my name is Dana Wallace, and I'm a junior social work major. And I just wanted to know what kind of culture exists in your organization, and how did you establish it?
If you didn't hear clearly, Dana Wallace, a junior social worker major, and the question is, what kind of culture exists in your organization, and how did you establish it?
I'll jump in real quick. My operations guy right
First
here.
you, then Kim. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So we have I think that one of the biggest things for me is always being in gratitude, right? Is having a culture that we're able to be vulnerable with each other. We're able to share more of an intimate space with each other, just outside of just always talking about business. And so with all of my meetings, every meeting that I have internally and externally, right, with investors, meeting somebody new, whatever, I always start off all my calls with gratitude. So everybody always goes around just say one thing they're grateful for in that moment and why. And it's like it gives us a grounding as a team, you know, to be able to share that, to say, you know, I'm grateful for my parents, or, you know, I'm grateful for this weekend. I just had an amazing weekend with my girlfriend, or whatever it is. But it allows us to share space with each other than outside of just the, yo, what's up? What marketing campaign we doing today? Or what are the to-dos today, right? So for me, it's like starting off every day with groundness and centeredness and a level of vulnerability, right? And then moving on from there. So that's been the biggest thing that has helped me with meetings and with my team and everything as well. It's just starting the day off with gratitude, just starting the day off of everybody saying what they're grateful for, right? You can mix it up sometimes, like say what you're grateful for about the person next to you, right? But it's just a way to get ground as a team, you know, and have that centeredness as a team before we take on the day and the workload.
Yeah, Kim, unmute your mic.
I hate talking behind him because he always says everything I want to say.
You got to beat it to the punch, man. You got to beat it to the punch. Well, go ahead.
It's okay. But well, I would have to agree with him because when I was living over in Italy back in the 80s, and my mom came to visit me, and she was extremely tired. And once we got over, it wasn't jet lag. It was the fact that she was very tired from working in the salon. And what she hadn't built was a team. And so that's when I decided that to come home and just go to beauty school and start and help her out. And what ended up happening was, what I realized is that you have to have a team, and you have to, and how grateful I was that I had a business that I could just walk into. Like, I didn't have to fill out an application. I didn't have to ask anybody. This is just what I was going to do. And from that point on, she went into semi-retirement. But what I did is build a team around me, and we don't do the gratitude thing every day, but I try to institute the things that I'm doing in my life, and it kind of just wears off on people because, you know, cream rises to the top. So everybody that's there is basically on the same level. We all work together. We all, you know, if I need to be gone, I know that this salon's going to be taken care of in the same fashion. My mom didn't build a team, but we have a sense of community, and we also have a sense of a community space where Black people are comfortable in a city that is very, very gentrified now. And we're only 6% of the population as it is. And so we have to be a place where people come in there and they still feel comfortable, back where this used to be an area where it was mostly Black people. So that's how our community space is. And we're laughing and joking and having a good time telling stories. And I'm the best storyteller in the world. You'll don't know that now, but I really am. And I'm always putting 10 on a 20. But the reality is, that's the thing about our culture in the first place. Our culture is so rich and so diverse and so beautiful.
Absolutely.
That when we get together and get to share and get to talk, even though we're all from different parts of the country or the world, we still can connect on a very primal level. And so that's how we built that community, and that's what our space is like all the time. And it started with my grandmother, and I watched her do it. I watched my mother do it to an extent, and then I do it now.
I love that response, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to add, if I could, I love the question, first of all, and I love the responses, because a lot of times when you're starting a business, you don't really think about the internal operations and about how things should go internally. So I just love that question. I think whoever sent in that question is really kind of thinking along the lines of what exactly they're going to need to go forward. But kind of to the same point of what everyone else was saying, is the culture in 57 Northampton is really kind of one of family. And I think that's important. Just, when you're trying to get things done, especially now that we're in a pandemic, it's very easy, if you're not coming into the office every day and you're not seeing each other every day, to kind of forget, okay, I have this job to do. But when you have that kind of family kind of atmosphere, it comes along with, of course, you like each other and you get along, but there's also like that feeling of responsibility, like, I don't want to let my family down. And so, and it is something that I've worked very, very hard. We all worked very, very hard to establish. So, we have birthday parties for people. We'll just do surprise gifts. We've pranked each other. We have board meetings. They're supposed to last 2 hours. Sometimes they go 3.5 to 4 hours, because we spend so much time at the beginning or at the end, just like joking on each other or sharing how things went during our week and that kind of thing. So one of the ways basically that I think that I can say that was created is also just speaking to the humanity in the people that I work with, and not just seeing them as, means to an end. I have this person because they're good at this. I have this person because they're good at that. But seeing that they're human and they have emotions, and that they need to feel valued, and that they need to feel important. And that has gone a really, really long way in creating that atmosphere, and in turn being productive.
Yeah, man. I agree.
And I would like to add is that usually the atmosphere I try to create for people that are on my team is allowing them to be able to see the journey as you're going through it. Especially being a leader, sometimes I feel like it's very key that when it comes to hierarchies or organizational charts, it's like you have the leader at the top and no one really knows what's going on. Sometimes, like if you're lower level or considered lower level. So the goal is that I always try to play in regard to my team is like allowing everybody to kind of be vulnerable and letting them know like what are our goals, how we're trying to do certain things. And like one story I'll tell you, like I went into this deal. It was the first time I went into I was transitioning into co-owning a restaurant deal. And I remember I met with my partner, and after I negotiated the deal, pretty much I became co-owner with my partner. And one of the things that caused some conflict with the people that were like on his team beforehand, they were kind of confused. People that had been with him for a very long time, they were like, how is this new younger person coming on board? And he's co-owner of this restaurant with you. Like, where's the disconnect? And it's funny because like I kind of sensed some animosity between like his team of like, like the hierarchy. Now we have to answer to you and him. And I remember sitting down with the team one day and I was like, honestly, let me just give you all full game on how I do certain things and how I negotiate deals and how I go about doing it. And it's funny because after we had that meeting and I kind of sat down with his his VP of operations, he kind of respected me differently because he didn't necessarily see it as me like infiltrating or me coming and taking his space. It was one of those things of like, let me share you free game. Like, let me be transparent with you. Let me show you how I do certain things. So when the future comes, these are things that you should ask for. These are things that you should kind of go from. And I feel like that transparency is key whenever it comes building a team, because you want to make everybody feel empowered and you want everybody to kind of win. So being transparent through that whole process of like how you go and do certain things, that means that might be inviting someone that is a cash register into one of your board meetings. because once they start getting the insight of how you do certain things, it makes them feel more empowered on how to do certain things, and that allows them to feel more passionate when it comes to promoting the company and kind of going from there. So that's my advice in regard to just the atmosphere that I keep between my team.
I definitely agree 100% with the communications. But what I like what you touched on is setting the expectations from both sides, having that clear conversation, but having expectations and saying, okay, this is what my agenda is. This is what I expect from you. This is what you expect from me. And that way we could go ahead and move forward. But without that expectation or without that clear communication and being fully transparent, sometimes things go sideways. But I agree.
Exactly.
If I could quickly wrap a bow on that too, I love how Terrell stepped up and showed that leadership. But as a founder of a company, leader of a company, you've got to be able to clearly articulate what those values are, your core values, right? You've got to know what they are for yourself. If you're a solopreneur, you got partners, you got to sit down, you've got to create this value matrix where you see where they overlap. You're clear about what they are. You're clear about how you're going to inject them into the practical day-to-day running of your company. And then you can't just talk about them, right? You can't just put them up on the wall or put them in a document. There's got to be living, breathing values that you actually activate in your processes, whether it's doing deals, whether it's how you talk to your customers, whether it's how you tidy up the office at the end of the night, whatever the case may be. There's got to be values that you really live and breathe, because the integrity of the leaders is going to trickle down to the lowest person on the hierarchy of the totem pole, right? And so if they feel like you're not living that, they're going to feel like it's okay for them to let it slide. And culture is how companies fall apart. It's how the dollars erode, because the sales team doesn't live the culture, because the fulfillment team doesn't live the culture, because the leadership doesn't live the culture. And so if you're speaking about it, but you're not being about it, then you are essentially becoming a double standard. Your brand is going to be tarnished in many different ways, front, side, and backside. So make sure that you are clear on what your culture and your values are, and that you're communicating them clearly, not just verbally, but in how you're actually activating them in your culture and organization.
Yeah, trust value is very important, but having a value system is even more. Right? But you have to create that trust. Without creating that trust, it's going to be hard. I definitely love this synergy that's going on. I have one. This is my question, right? How important? Okay, put it this way: a team is very important. We all agree, having the right team, having the right members on board. How important is it to have the right member in the right position?
I think it's very important. I think it's funny because on my application for HBCUC, which is my venture capital firm, my application was pretty short, and the thing on the application was, what is your dream position that you could see yourself working for with the company? The reason why I usually say that is because it allows me to see someone's passion. Normally they'll either put their passion, what they really want to do, or they'll put like a skill set that they're really good at. And the reason why I give those two first, because with the company, you have your set things of what you need to get done. These are your positions. And sometimes when you say I'm hiring for a position, people will just apply because they want the funding or they need the money for that job. It's not like they're necessarily good at it, but it's like, I just want to apply because I want to be able to get paid for that, because, everyone's looking for jobs now. So when I left the application open, it allowed me to be able to see someone's true values of what they're really passionate about. And then I can say, hey, if I am looking for that position, if it was in one of those two categories, then now I know that's the perfect person versus putting the title of the position. And it's kind of like having multiple people apply and that not necessarily be something they're like either passionate about or even have the skill to do. So I would say usually just kind of being able to find, what someone's skills are and what they're passionate about. And that's kind of how I feel like, that's important in regard to putting them in the right position, because, you don't want to get the wrong person on there and it wastes a lot of time and money.
Yeah. You could have the right person on and they bring so much value, but because they're in the wrong situation or the wrong position, they're not executing or they're not firing at all cylinders. And sometimes it's the leader or the entrepreneur responsibility to figure out this is a good person here. This is a person that's bringing so much to the table, but how can I get the best out of them? And sometimes we don't touch on that. And I think that's very important for us to keep in mind, because sometimes you may lose a great talent because we didn't find the right position for them. All right.
There was
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
I just want to point out there's a company that they hire now not based on position, they simply based on talent, right? And so they find talented people and then they show them what they're up to and they let them figure out what their positions are. Gary Keller, the founder of Keller Williams, says that every time he starts a business, he doesn't launch the business until he finds a person that can run that business, right? Mm-hmm. He knows his role. I have an identity. My identity is the founder. I'm going to make the money, but I need somebody who can build this into an empire. And so I only want those type of people in that position. So it's crucial that you find the right people to do the right job, right? And we talked earlier about self-awareness and knowing what your gift is. When you find people who have the right gift for the right position, right, for the right impact in that organization, then you can go so much further. But if you're trying to shove square pegs into round holes, then you're going to have a lot of friction and it's going to be a lot heavier lift for you to be able to make that happen. So
you touched on something really important. I had a mentor that told me that don't start a business until you have the key members in place, because you want to make sure that you're successful out the gate. Not guaranteed, but your odds are a lot better when you have the right people before you even start the business.
Yeah. It's like trying to drive out of the parking lot if you don't have all the wheels on the car, right?
That's true too. Or you don't even have a license. So Dana Wallace, I hope that answers your question. We're going to move on to the next person. This has been amazing so far, and I'm hoping that everybody's gaining some value. Like you can see, I have my notes. I'm taking notes as well because everybody's sharing some good, valuable things. We're going to go to the next person. We're going to talk. We're going to get a question from Austin Reed.
What's going on? My name is Austin Reed, and I'm a junior finance major. And my question is, what entrepreneurial tricks have you learned that have helped to keep you focused and productive during your busy day-to-day schedule?
Austin Reed, junior finance major. And the question is, what entrepreneurship tricks have you learned that kept you focused and productive during your day-to-day schedule? I know Kim has something because you have a busy day, Kim.
Well, the first thing that I would say is a ritual, and I have my ritual consists of meditation, affirmations, all kind of depends on what kind of mood I'm in. If I want to do a little yoga or something in the morning, and sometimes I just wake up and I'm just in a super, super happy mood. And I think those little things keep me motivated. And when I get to work, it's because I love doing hair, because I love the clientele. Like I live for the salon. I love the salon. So when I don't even think of it as work, it's not busy work for me. It's fun. It's like, I had a client today. That story's long and crazy, but at the end of the day, I said, "Oh, so you just really just changed your schedule in your head and thought I was gonna figure that out." And she sat down in the chair. She got her hair done, but those little nuggets, those little things that happen in the salon, they are something that just kind of just lighten the whole atmosphere in the salon. I told all the other operators in there, it was kind of something they said earlier about having a team and all that stuff. Those things I live for. So when I get to the salon, and because I do take care of my mom and she has Alzheimer's, and there's a lot of different things that people have to do in their lives, just going to the salon takes a lot of the pressure off of me once I get there. And I got these people telling me crazy stories, and not crazy to them, but they're crazy to me. But hey, it's what makes the world go around. So those kind of things are really important to me, and that's how I make it through my busy days.
One thing I would add is that we lost the host. Well, in the meantime,
go ahead. Sorry about that. I was trying to unmute the mic and then clicked the wrong button. I apologize.
You're trying to end the show and just did not tell us.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. One thing I would say is to book out the important things in your calendar first, right? Know what's most important to get done. A lot of times we think that productivity is about knocking out everything on your list. There's always going to be fires to put out. There's always going to be a to-do list every day. But there are certain things that are going to move your day forward. And if you can simplify those to 1 or 2 actions every day, right, then you will allow you to get focused on the most important things. You knock those dominoes down that knock out all the other dominoes. The other one is that leave time and leave space so that you can be present where you need to be in that moment, right? So I run my business from home now. And because the kids are home, the pandemic and everything, well, we were homeschooling anyway, but now my wife is out, she works. And so when I'm home, I have a set block of time that I'm with the kids. And so I don't think about business during that time. Well, I try not to think about business during that time, but I'm focused. I have my schedule set up so I can be present with the kids when I'm with the kids and be present in my business when I'm in my business. And so it allows me to be more effective, more efficient, and now I don't have to drift back and forth, right? I know that I have a certain amount of time to get things done. I focus on those things that are most important, and then that allows me to get the leverage that normally if I was spread out over 8 hours or 10 hours, then I would be having way more time to drift and go back and forth. I don't have that same luxury anymore, but it kind of helps me to have that discipline to have that set schedule. So make sure that you have a set schedule where you are focused on the major things first.
And I would like to add that I feel like mastering the art of delegation, especially if you're going to be able to use your team, I feel like that's such a key thing of just being able to know how to delegate certain responsibilities to certain people. And I felt like when I started HBCUC, this was the first time. I have a pretty small team, but it was the first time I actually opened up to like interns and ambassadors and stuff like that. And when I actually opened it up because I was reading the book by Tom CEO, like Start Something That Matters, and he pretty much went into about like how he used like interns to really build his company when he first started, getting passionate people and like getting passionate people to come onto my team and actually do projects. It was so much a stress relief to be able to have people that are passionate and like delegating that things that would have taken me like, weeks. It's like you can have 5 or 6 people doing the same thing at the same time. So being able to train and delegate, I feel like that's key. If you can train someone to do what you do it well, and then being able to trust and delegate that, I feel like that would allow you to be stress relief. And the last thing I would say, going back to your scheduling, being able to master your schedule. If you really think about successful people, they live off their schedule. I mean, everything is to the T. Like when you think of like them getting bookings and stuff like that, I don't think like task versus schedule, like they have to live off their schedule even when it comes to dead time, because that's the only thing that they know they can like throughout their day, know they can stick to a T. So if you can start practicing like putting everything on your schedule, even if you're going to be playing video games for 5 hours, putting that down there, because it allows you to be able to see like, I spent 5 hours playing video games. Like just being able to be aware of that's where you're using your time, because it's kind of like you spending your money on your debit card and not balancing your books. Like it's easier to like not keep account, and then at the end of you look at your account and you're like, where did I spend this money? Like where did it go? Where did it go? So I feel like it's the same thing when it comes to your time. If you don't really put that into a schedule, it's a lot of time lost, and that's the only thing you can't really get back, or you can't get back, and you want to be able to make sure you're budgeting that time wisely.
I agree. And I'm going to just share an example. The moment that I started changing the way I put stuff on the calendar, I used to go around and, I make appointments. Yeah, sure. But the moment I started putting things on the calendar, now I was holding myself accountable. And I saw the big difference. Because now the first thing when somebody recommends something or somebody presents something, wait, let me check the calendar. And then I add it on the calendar, then it's official, because now I'm holding myself accountable. And that's that. So I definitely agree with both of you guys. Setting a schedule, but holding yourself accountable to it. Don't just set it, but don't do it. But go ahead. Who's next?
I would like to add to that. I second everything that has been said. Delegating, having a routine, putting things in black and white to hold yourself accountable, knowing your priorities. But I do want to also talk about it from a mental health standpoint, if I can. A lot of times we have these priorities and we have these goals and we're like, okay, I'm going to get this done. It's, nothing's going to stop me. What I like to do, because we really do have to factor in, sometimes things happen, you're feeling a certain way, something that is on your to-do list scares you, so you want to procrastinate, that kind of thing. My process, if I can share it with you, is I'll take every Sunday night, I will take maybe 2 or 3 hours, however long I need, to go over my week, write down my goals. This is everything that I would like to get done this week. And I'll put it in, my priorities, all of that, and then I will freak out. I'll look at everything that I have to do, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to call this person. I'm gonna have to do this thing. I'm gonna have to find a way to raise this money, and I will do my freaking out on Sunday night. And then when Monday morning starts, it's done. I just go straight to work, and I don't allow, even though we are humans, and you have that humanity and you have those emotions, but you have to put it aside, get what you need done, and then you can freak out when it's done. But, to sit there and try to, deal with those emotions sometimes when you're working with a tough deadline or a tough goal, it's really counterproductive. And then the second thing that I want to say is it's kind of to what Frederick was saying a little bit earlier, that you do have to be realistic with your days, with how your life goes. He's saying that sometimes he's home with the kids, and so he's not going to schedule certain things on those days. So you do need to be flexible with yourself in that way. If you know that, let's say you have family coming into town and you're not going to be able to be in the office, 8, 10, 12 hours like you normally would, don't schedule 12 hours worth of work on that day, because when you're not able to do it, that is going to impact your mental health. You have to realize that a lot of the time, especially when we're entrepreneurs, a lot of the pressure that we feel is pressure that we put on ourselves. There are a lot of other people that are requiring you to get this huge amount of stuff done. It's a lot of the times we're doing that to ourselves. So if you take that into consideration, you take your mental health into consideration, you really set yourself up to be a lot more productive.
Yeah, you summed it up really well, and I was hinting at it. One of the things I wanted to talk about afterwards, but you hit it on the nose, is having the ability to say no. Right? You said something about we add that pressure on when we could easily say, no, I can't do this. I have other commitments. So you're 100% right. Kavon?
I would say when Terrell said delegation, that hit me, right? Because it's like you have to know where you're strong at. Like you have to know what you're strong at, know where you're good at executing, and know how your mind works, right? So with me personally, I know that it's easy for my mind to jump from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's like, I'll be in the middle of doing something. Then I'm like, I gotta send out this email. Then I do that. Then it's like, oh, I have to do this. And it's like, I'm going down the road and I've worked on a little bit of everything, but haven't truly completed anything. So it's like, for me, I take myself one thing at a time, like, let me finish this. So even with my operations guy, right, I'll be in the middle of doing something and he'll be like, oh, Kavon, what about this? Or, hey, what's going on with this or whatever? And I was like, yo, if it's not something super important, I have to answer it right now, just write it on a Post-it note and put it on my computer. Because if I go to that right now, then it's going to take me away from things, and I'm going to go in this rabbit hole of doing a little task, right? And then I heard something, and I've implemented it this week, and it's been changing a lot. So it's something that's happening in real time. But I heard somebody said, if you could do it in under 60 seconds, do it right now. Like, don't wait to do it. Don't put it off for later. If it can be done in under 60 seconds, then do it right now. So the moment that email comes to mind, right, let me just send it off. If I have to do something real quick and it's something little, let me just check that off. So then those little things are not cluttering your mind. And then also scheduling, man. It's like, until it's scheduled, it's not real. So it's like those big important things, making sure that it gets scheduled. So to make sure it gets complete. Things take as long as you give it to take. And I realized that a lot for myself is that if I want to make sure something gets done or we put something out, if we put a time limit to it and we execute, then we're going to make sure we execute within that time frame. But if there's not like a hard deadline or something, then something could take days and days and days and days, and it takes longer than what it needs to be. But it's just knowing your strong suits, know how you work. If you work best at night, then you may want to set an important work at night, right? If your best time is from 9 to 11, then make that your personal time. Don't even do a team meeting at that time. Just like know where you're strong at, know how you work and play to your strengths. Like set up a game that you can win at, man. It's like life is a game and you create the rules. So create some rules that you can win every single day. So I don't care if it's from midnight to 2 in the morning that you do best your work. Like create a game that works for you.
I love that. Can I say one other thing? Yes, no? Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
We voted and said yes.
Just really quickly, Brandon Sadler, the artist that we interviewed yesterday, he gave us a tour of his studio, and he showed a really, I thought it was a very effective way of planning his week. If you those of you watching, if you have a chance, go back and watch that video. It was basically a whiteboard where he had 3 categories: to do, doing, and then done. And then he would put Post-it notes by each one, and so he would just kind of move it as it was getting done. And he told us what the name of that strategy was. I didn't exactly catch it, so you can go back and watch it. But I looked at that, and it looked very, very simple, but also really beneficial. And so, maybe that's something that can help somebody as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to touch on something. So a book that changed my life is The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. And it basically comes down to creating a system where you schedule and execute on your life. But the principle is based on the fact that it's called the focusing question, which says, what is the one thing I can do that by doing this one thing, it will make everything else either easier or unnecessary, right? And so we all have to-do lists. So, and what it talks about is just how you can go through that list and say, which of these things is the one thing that will make everything else on this list either easier or obsolete, right? Mm. And many times we don't know because we're chopping down these little bitty branches and realize if we just chop down this tree, it takes all the branches with it, right?
Oh.
So the illustration the book gives is that, a domino can knock down another domino about 50% larger in size, right? And so if you knock down that first domino, by the time you get to a certain number of dominoes, I think it's like the 29th domino, then it'll be the size of the Empire State Building, right? By the time you get to the 57th domino, it will stretch from the earth to the moon. Basically, if you knock down that first domino, you can knock down a domino that is a size that stretches from the earth to the moon. But you don't have to knock down that domino. Just knock down the first one. And so if you can see your goals very clearly, understand what that smallest possible action is, that makes everything else easier or necessary. It simplifies your life. And I do that with my business, with my kids, with my wife, whatever that situation is. Any situation I'm in, what's the one thing I can do, right? I'm not trying to do everything. But that's the genius level, because that's the difference between billionaires and millionaires and thousandaires and have none heirs, right? Because
I'm still in there, by the way.
So I mean, and I really, and what it set off was this. Kavon said it perfectly. Like, build a game that you can win, right? Mm-hmm. And we can all win at dominoes if we hit that smallest domino first. So I just wanted to share that too.
What book was that again? What book was that again?
The One Thing by, matter of fact, I got it here. The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for letting me know that.
Yes, sir.
I like all the strategies that was presented. All of them, I'm pretty sure, is going to hit home for somebody. What works well for me, and I just wanted to add, and I'm not trying to simplify it, but what works for me is Tim Ferriss wrote the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. And for me, that touched home with me. And one of the things, I don't touch my phone until a certain amount of time. So I'll go inside a deep work. Like if I know I have a big day ahead of me, I won't touch my phone at all. I'll turn it off. I'll put it on silence, or sometimes I even put it on airplane mode, just so I could dive into some deep work. And you'll be surprised, like you could get 4 or 5 hours of work in when there's no distraction, when there's no emails, when there's no alerts, when there's no IG or TikTok, and there's nothing, no text message, nothing, and you're just zoned in. It's just a different level of conversation because because you're really locked into a zone, and trust me, you'll get so much out of it. I work for like 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours straight, and it doesn't even feel like it, and you get a lot done. So if you could take away some of the distractions that's coming in frequently, then you don't have to pull out all these fires 24/7, because you know those fires are there. They're going to be there. And if you put the right systems in place or the right people in place, they're going to take care of themselves. But if you're constantly putting out fires, then who's navigating the ship? Who's steering you to the right direction, to the promised land? That's just my personal opinion. I just think that all the strategies will work and have worked. But I think that if you minimize the amount of distractions that you get daily, you could accomplish a lot. All right. Austin Reed, I hope that, Kim, you wanted to say something or no?
No, I was just going to agree with you, because I guess because I come from a different mindset, and when I'm in the salon, the phones are off. We don't use our phones while we're working with clients, because we try to, customer service is the most important thing in the salon. It always has been. So I do agree with you. We get so much more accomplished when no one has a phone. Even the clients are more engaged in talking to us, because if we're not stopping on the phone, they're like, oh, they're giving me all their attention. Whenever you give people your attention, when you're giving a personal service like what I do, people take that, as in they really care about me. And that's one of the reasons why people continue coming. I have clients that have been coming to me for 30 years when they didn't have kids, and they have kids now, and they've been through a divorce, and they've got a new husband or a new wife because of the customer service. And that's one of the major things that people are missing out in the entrepreneurship thing, is they don't understand that these people have plenty of people to give their money to. And if you give them that extremely good customer service, even if you're joking and playing around with them, it doesn't mean you have to be so stodgy and stuck up and real tight with everything. But if you're laughing and joking with them, you know who their kids are, and you know whatever your relationship with these people are, once you know that, and once you connect with somebody, and when they come in the shop, one lady will say, such and such, and then a lady did this to me today, and she was like, do you know such and such? And I was like, oh yeah, I know them. I don't know him, but I know his daughter. And she goes, oh, that's my husband's father. Okay, so now we done went whole full circle. But had I not even, and I don't know this young lady that she was talking about well, but I could connect the dots. And so once I connect the dots, guess what? You got a customer for life. And she's gonna say, oh, she remembers people, and I ran into a lady once at a basketball game, and I did her and her daughter's here for her wedding. And when I saw them, I said hello to each and every one of them by name, and she said, oh my God, you remembered our name. You only came to the salon one time. And I was like, oh, I'm good with names. And she's been coming to me for 25 years. And her daughters are all grown now. And they come to me, and they have kids now, and they bring their kids to the salon. Some of them have boys, so they go in the barbershop and get their hair cut. But it's about connection.
Yes.
I don't care what what social media is doing. It's about connection. And once you connect with people, you got them for life, and regardless of what kind of business you have them for life.
Amen. Amen.
Even if I have clients that live all over the country now. They'll swear up and down I'm their stylist, and I'm like, girl, I haven't done your hair in 30 years. You went away to college and never came back. But they'll swear to God, Kim does my hair.
Where's Chap at? Chap need to bless this right here.
That's what I want to tell people, young people listening. Once you connect with people, and once you do that customer service, and regardless, whoever you're dealing with, it will pay off for you exponentially over and over and over again. It'll pay for your house. It'll pay for your car. It'll pay for everything that you ever want to do. Travel. Your kids' college education. I got 2 college graduates, got a whole house, got a whole business. That's how it works.
And also it pays for your peace of mind, because look how happy you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I am happy.
See, look. All right. That's been great. Austin Reed, I hope that answers your question. We're going to move on to the last question of the day, and then we're going to go into our own personal Q&A. Shaquila Cameron. The next.
Hi, my name is Shaquila Cameron, and my major is Management Information Systems. My question is, how did you raise funding for your venture, and how did you build a successful customer base?
Okay, if you didn't hear her, Shaquilla Cameron, she is a management and information systems, and her question is, how did you raise funding for your business, and how did you build a successful customer base? And Kim, you just touched on that prior to that.
I was gonna say I don't have nothing to say. I answered. So yeah, y'all do your thing. I'll just sit here and listen.
Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll chime in. So again, last year I raised $800,000 for Sole Purpose, and the way I was able to do it was I put myself in the environment and in the rooms of the people that had the money. Proximity is power.
Oh yes.
Right? Proximity is power. So being in proximity to people who have money, that's how I ultimately was able to do it, is that I put myself in those positions, right? So I'm going to conferences, I'm going to events, right? Even when I was back at home living in Indianapolis before I knew about any type of conferences, right? I'm going to the exotic car dealer, right? And looking at cars, because those people that are there, they shopping for Ferraris, they got the money. Right? And in my mind, I always look at it like this, is like, anybody listening to this call, what does $250,000 do for your company? Some people spend that on a watch. And if they believe in you, and $50,000 is, they're not missing it, right? $50,000 could go missing out their bank account and they don't even see it. It is like, you have to be able to put yourself in those environments and tell a winning story where people will believe in you, that they might not even believe 100% in the business or understand it, but they believe in who you are. That's how I was able to raise it, by putting myself in proximities to these people and being able to show who I am and what I'm committed to and the purpose that I have and the difference that I want to make. And people invested because of that proximity. Right? I would have never been able to get to these investors without, like, all my investors that I have came from proximity, came from me going to conferences, came to me shaking hands. I tell people all the time, you're one handshake away from somebody changing your life. Stop thinking that you can't tell your business because somebody's going to steal it. Tell your dream, man. Tell that vision. Nobody's going to steal that, right? It's not even about the idea. The idea is nothing if it's not executed. So it's like, tell your vision, shake somebody's hand, tell them who you are, right? I used to go to the conferences when I first started. I went to my first Tony Robbins conference, learned about it when I was on house arrest, was living in my mom's basement, had $100 to my name. Watched Tony Robbins came up on YouTube one day. I knew I wanted better for my life. I didn't know what better was, but better looked like wherever that room was that he was in, right? I had a Jordan shoe, about 60 pair of Jordans. I sold 40, 50 pair to pay for $5,000 for this ticket. Because it was in my mind, like, this event is 5,000 people at this event. I guarantee you that I'm probably one of the only people that is spending my last 5 racks to get to this event. So I'm like, if people got 5, and that's the cheapest on sale to sit in the back. That's just to get in the door was 5 G's on sale. You know what I mean? Early bird special. You know what I mean? It's like, if I could get in this room where 5,000 people could easily just spend 5,000, then it's like I'm one handshake away from somebody changing my life. So I'll go up every break. I'll go up and introduce myself, shake people's hand. Hello, my name is Kavon Massenberg. I'm 23 years old. I'm starting this new journey of my life. If you give me one piece of advice, what would it be? And just start shaking hands and introducing yourself. And through that, I found the mentor, right? My first conversation talking with my mentor, with 10 minutes into the conversation, he's like, where do you live? I said, I live in Indianapolis. I said, but I'm about to move to New York or LA. He's like, why are you going there? I said, because that's where it's hot. If you want to be hot, you got to get next to the fire. So my goal was, I was just going to take my 2002 PT Cruiser, drive out to LA, sleep in my car, and work out Starbucks at Beverly Hills. Because I just need one person. If I'm working out at Starbucks at Beverly Hills, these people got 6, 7 bedroom mansions. I just need one. They got 10 Ferraris. I just need 100,000. Right?
Yeah.
He said, all you need is, I said, I just need one opportunity. He said, if all you need is one opportunity, why don't you come live with me in New York? I'll teach you everything you need to know about business. I have a venture firm. He invested $600. He moved me out there, wrote a letter to the judge, got me on probation 2 years early. And with 6 months after that, I had $600,000 in funding just from him, let alone anybody else investing. Because I was willing to shake hands. I was willing to tell my story. I was willing to tell a winning story. I was willing to tell my vision. So if you want to raise money, get next to the people that got it, man. Get in proximity to these people. Stop just thinking about just being on your computer emailing. That's cool, but there's nothing like a handshake. There's nothing like looking somebody in their eyes and feeling that energy and them feeling and knowing you. That's how I was able to do it. All I could tell is the way I was able to do it.
That's an amazing story. Yeah, let's clap for that. Let's clap for that. Yeah. The best part of the story, besides getting all that funding right away, was the PT Cruiser heading up to New York.
Listen,
to me, that's the best part of the story.
Tony Robbins, man, I slept in my car. I slept in my car because I didn't have money for a hotel. Washed up in the Burger King bathroom, right? But now I've been to 13 Tony Robbins events. I've spoken on stage with Tony. Tony has invited me on stage, backstage. I've taken 100 underprivileged kids to Tony Robbins events, right? Minority underprivileged kids. But it's all because I just had this vision and I was able to tell it. And it's not because I'm better than anybody else. It's because I had a purpose and I followed it. And I was able to tell people what my purpose was, tell people my vision, and people became the hero in my story and stepped in regardless of his funding or making an introduction or whatever. When you tell your vision, tell your story, tell your idea, let people be the hero in it. But it starts with that proximity. It starts with that proximity.
I want to touch on, you didn't have a scarcity mind. You knew, you took two chances, right? Two risks. The first risk was you invested, you sold all your sneakers, your last 5,000, and you were determined to go ahead and make that happen. You didn't know there was going to be an outcome. You just knew you had to be in that room.
100%.
So that's a risk, right? So, and you did it. No scarcity mindset there. Second one, you was ready to drive up to New York, do what you need to do with no relationships, no nothing, just to get next to your analogy, next to the fire to burn, right?
Yeah.
So that's two with no scarcity mindset.
No,
that means you saw something that you wanted, and there was no stopping you. And I think that's a lesson learned for a lot of people. That if you really want it, you're gonna go out to do what you need to do. You're gonna sacrifice. You're gonna. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You have to. The way I always say is like this: is you have to know it's going to happen. I tell people, I tell my investors before they invest, I say, listen, this is going to happen. Now, if it's going to happen with you, I don't know. Time will tell. The universe, God will tell. But this is going to happen. I don't know who it's going to be with or how it's going to look. This is going to happen. Because it's not about a business. It's about my purpose. It's what I'm here to do. It's going to happen. There's nothing that anybody can do to stop it. It's bigger than me. It's not even me. I'm just a vessel for the purpose to be carried out through. And it's like having that mindset. I was willing to do whatever it took. The risk of not, I tell people when they talk about fear, because when you have fear doing it, the fear of what my life would look like if I stayed in Indianapolis and did what everybody else wanted. Right? The fear of what it would look like if I was 80 years old or if I transitioned and I'm sitting at this table with God, my higher power, whatever, and they go, this is what your life could have looked like if you'd have took that chance. That fear is greater than me going out and having to sleep in my car to get next to some people or hearing an investor say no or putting myself out there worrying about judgment, right? That fear of if I don't do this is way stronger than the fear of let me just do it and let me see what happens, right? But you have to have that belief that it's like, it's going to happen. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know when. It can be nervous sometimes, right? I'm like, yo, come on, I thought it was going to crack way before this, whatever it is. Yeah. But just having that belief, man, just having that belief.
Hey, man, that's an amazing story. And I like the fact that you use fear as a motivator. All right. Some people use fear and then it paralyzes them. But you use fear as a motivator to say, listen, this is not going to be me. This is not going to be the end of my book. I'm going to see the next chapter and I'm going to rewrite the book. I like that mindset, right? Because it let me know that, listen, and me and T talked about this too. Sometimes when someone's that determined, you are more than willing to invest in that person because they're going to will their way to make it happen. Yeah. And sometimes the will of a person is a lot stronger than what the numbers look like and what the presentations look like. You know, T said something. I don't want to misquote you. You said you bet on the what?
Oh yeah, bet on the jockey, not the horse.
Jockey, not the horse.
There you go. There you go.
And I'd like to add into that point. I feel like you said a key. Pretty much what you said is like in order, the key to raising funding is really about, do I trust that person is going to be able to accomplish that goal? And like I was just talking to, like, when we had the podcast, the key was like people come like so from an investment standpoint, like now that I have the VC, but even when I raise money, it really came down to like how desperate, not even necessarily how desperate, but how far is this entrepreneur willing to go to make this happen? And I feel like whenever investors are looking to invest funding and stuff like that, like you said, ideas can come a dime a dozen, but it really comes down to like, is that person going to give it all it takes no matter what to really give that return on investment? And that's why when I was how I originally did funding or got my first amount of funding when I was in college is that like I was the same way. Like I would Atlanta is where I was from, and I would travel back to Atlanta a lot to be around people that had money or in that same type of circle. And it was this one mentor that I became really close with, and he would have these events where you have people over his house, and like they would just pretty much be like rich people, having people over for dinner and stuff like that. And he would hit me up randomly and say, hey, we're having a dinner this weekend. Are you going to be in town? Are you in town? And I would say I'm in town, even though I'm like 4 hours out. So I would travel there multiple times, and like I had to pretty much build that relationship for over a year. And it's funny because after I had been like going to meetings and being around people so much, it was probably it just hit his year mark, and I was like needing funding to really launch my business. And I remember having a meeting with him before he was going to go out of town, and he was like, honestly, I'm going to cut the check, or I'm going to make an investment in you, not because I necessarily truly believe in what you have to do, but I've seen like your work ethic on staying consistent with dealing with me. And he was like, I'm going to write a check now. He was like, you could take this check and you could pretty much, you can go with whatever it is. But if you are serious and you want to meet me after I come back from vacation, because like you said, once you get around these people, the money is not really like, it's like you made a good point. It's like when they write money, it's really about like them investing in something that they feel like they're passionate in, because they could spend that money in like a car or a house or whatever. And it's like, it's money that they don't really like think as hard on. But he was like, I'm about to go out of town, and I'm overthinking to myself, like, I don't need you to go out of town right now. Like, I need this money before, I'm trying to do this tour. And like, I couldn't really stress that how desperate I wasn't for it, but I was like, I really need something today. He was like, honestly, I'm just going to write a check for today, and I'm just going to, and that was like my first like check to really go on. And it's funny because like after that period, that let me know like that's the last thing he left me with. He was like, Terrell, I bet on jockeys, not horses. And like, he was like, that's one thing that you really need to know, is that if a person likes you and a person wants to like invest in you, they can kind of tell how passionate you are. And based off of how passionate you are, they know, like he made a saying, he was like, no matter what, I don't care how, he was like, I know if I invest in you, I know you're going to return my investment. And that means like whether this fails or something else happens, like just your mentality on how you plan on doing certain things, I know that's what I'm betting on. It's funny because you said you got your investment for Tony Robbins. Like I got mine, one of my first investments other than that person from Eric Thomas, which is another motivation.
ET.
Yeah, ET. So he gave me one of my first investments to like really do my tour and stuff like that, to like knock me off and kind of, and that was like, I was really grateful for that. But that was like my first round of like receiving investment, and what am I going to do with that? And it took times where I was staying in my office, like living in my office. It took times like you really didn't have all the resources and using all that you have. And it's funny because like now that I've gone through that period, now I'm more in the VC spot, and now I'm looking to invest in people. And the things that I'm looking to invest is like, the hardest thing is like me being an entrepreneur, investing in other entrepreneurs, because that journey going up there, and the risks that come with that. So my advice would be is that you have to be able to know, like make the investor believe that you're the right investment. Yes, you have the idea, but they have to be able to know for sure, like, hey, we can invest in you and we can make sure this happens. Because as a VC, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for like people we can bet on no matter what. Like, you're going to make sure you return that money. Like, we want our return. So if we know you're going to go sleep or whatever, like at the end of the day, we want to know how extreme you're going to go. And that's pretty much like my advice in regard to like investing, and what I would advise, how I raise my fund, and how I now see investing, how I invest in other people from, moving on.
It's so much information, man. Digesting everything in. This has been amazing. Cameron, I hope we answered your question. I know we gave you more information than we probably needed, but in my opinion, and I believe they would say the same thing too, more information, the better. right? Because then you have more avenues to pull from,
In that
and which
case,
is a great thing. Go ahead.
in that case, since we're giving too much information, I just want to, because what Kavon said and Terrell said are just phenomenal. It's absolutely true. And there's one other quote that I want to leave them with, which is nothing succeeds like success. So sometimes we have a lot of people that think because of the age that we're coming up in now, oh, I want to start a company. Let me figure out how I can raise money for it, right? The number one way you can raise money is to get customers, right? And nothing makes investors believe in you more than being an entrepreneur that has started a company that is already making money, right? That's a problem you're gonna have to solve no matter whether you get money or not. You got to figure out how you're going to get customers. So if you can't figure out how to sell what you've got, then maybe you just sit back and look at, do I need to raise money yet, right? Yeah. And so sometimes we focus on a dream so much, right? And it's great to be passionate, but you also have to be fundamentally, brutally hardcore about the numbers, right? Am I going to be able to turn a profit from this thing? Because the thing about taking investment money is you got to pay them people back, right? And if you don't, then you can't go back to the well unless you have learned something that is so valuable that says, well, this didn't work, but I know why. And if we pivot here, then we're going to be able to make this money back and more. But you better be rock solid sure. The other thing is that in VC, in the startup culture, right, they look for people that have failed, right? Because they want to know that you tried to build something and do that again. Mm-hmm. But you need to make sure that you understand that you're learning every step of the way, right? So the MVP, the minimum viable product, putting out the lean version of that product to solve that problem, and then continue to iterate to make it better and better and better. You don't always have to raise money. Don't make that your first step if you don't have to. The reason being is because every time you raise money, you're giving away a piece of that company. And it can take you 5-10 years to be able to build this thing into a viable product. And at the end of those 5 or 10 years, you could own 5 or 10% of that company because you've been raising money the whole time to keep it going. Now, if it's worth $1 billion, that's cool, right? But wouldn't it be better to rake $1 billion company where you own 100% or 75% versus 5 or 10 or 20%? So there's real numbers. And I say this because, especially with Black people, we're so ingenious and we sell ourselves short so much. And a lot of these people who are raising money are doing it because they just can. You know, a lot of this money that comes out it starts with the family and friends round. And these people are raising $200,000, $400,000. And I don't know a lot of us that can do that with friends and family. That just have $400,000 that we can just call in, right? So what Terrell did is genius. What Kavon did was genius. They got in the right rooms. And so if you have that drive, then you can do that. But I would also say if you have that same drive to do that, you can build that business to make it viable and where it's making money. And then when people will chase you down and give you money if you're making money like that, right? So that's just the other thing I would leave Cameron with.
Yeah. And I'll add into that little point real quick. Like before I got the investment funding, the last thing he told me is that you have to secure the deal in order and the funding will follow. And I had to, because I was doing a tax tour for that business, I had to like go and get contracts from the university saying that they would pay me. And like, I had to pretty much show those contracts in order to get the funding. So it was like an extra step that I had to like contact like 2,000 universities to get that tour. And then a lot of no's because it only knocked it down to 20 universities that actually said yes. And then I had to take those contracts and say, hey, this university is going to pay me to come on campus to do X, Y, and Z. I need money to do this, to complete this tour, to be able to do this for my business. So like you said, it really came down to like, I had to have all the ducks in a row, like not only court the person for a year, but in addition to like show him like, okay, these are legit. Like it's a pretty easy transaction.
Okay. I want to touch on something that Frederick said. It was 2 points, right? One of them was pivot, but we're going to go. Let me ask this first question. Let me just make this statement first. The CEO of Netflix, Reed Hastings, he said something. He initially, when he started out, he got the startup investments, and the history of Netflix took off. He said, looking back now, he was doing an interview, and he said, looking back, I would have put on more debt versus trying to get people, because now you lose some of the equity in your business. And that was the point that Frederick was trying to say, is that don't be surprised if when you go public or when you take on investors, they take in equity into the company. That's less shares that you owning, and eventually you want to own at least 51% because then you have full ownership. But you don't want to lose too much of your business. That, to his point, he was saying that it could take you about 8 to 10 years to develop. So in looking back, he said, I would have probably added on more debt. I would have got a loan. I would have did something just so I could obtain more of my company. The problem is you never know, right? You don't know how the company is going to be. You don't know if Netflix was going to be Netflix to that point. But it's always good to look back and see and compare the two and say, okay, yes, I can go for the startup money right away, or I can put in the work, build it up, get some leverage, and then present myself to investor, because then I could have more shares. And like we discussed prior before, you could leverage on a position of power. But the other thing I want to ask is that you touched on pivoting. How important it is to pivot and recalibrate.
So it's crucial. I mean, you had so many companies that you had the choice of either pivoting or dying in the pandemic, right? They had to decide what they were going to do to make that shift, and a lot of companies couldn't do it because their business model was too old, or they hadn't set the infrastructure of innovation in place. So they were dead in the water. And basically, if the government had stepped in and given them money, they would have went under. And some of them, it still didn't matter. Like, they're not going to recover. Being able to pivot is crucial. And as an entrepreneur, that's really your advantage. I think was it Jana that said you have to be able to adapt, your adaptability. You got to be able to be fluid. Like Bruce Lee said, be water. You got to be able to make that shift, and when you come up against obstacles and things like that, and this kind of has to do with your perspective. Pivoting means you have to be able to think about, what real value there is that you offer. What are your assets that you really have in place that you can leverage to create more value for other people, creating other partnerships, things of that nature. So being able to pivot is crucial, because we're in a shifting world, and any technology could come along and knock down, what you're thinking. I was in a conversation last night where Bill Gates was on Clubhouse, and he had a whole interview, and then we were kind of talking about what he said in the interview. And one of the things he brought up was that concrete and cement, which is a crucial element of concrete, is a limited resource, and it's about to be in a shortage. And so a lot of times that people have been thinking, well, this is something that's everlasting, right? But if you're not thinking about these things that are coming ahead, you got to be able to see around corners, just kind of see what's going on, and you got to be willing to be able to shift based on what's coming. It's Neo in the Matrix in this joint. So these bullets are flying, and only the strong survive when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's true. Hey guys, it's been my honor to really moderate this panel of amazing guests. And I want to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I really did enjoy. I took a lot of notes, and I do value everybody's time. So I try to make everybody chime in here and there to include, because I believe in inclusion. And I just want to say thank you. I appreciate this.
Yes. And Stanley,
welcome
you did an
back,
awesome
Kurt.
job. Thank you. Man, I was taking notes too. I actually got carried away, man. Just listening to the powerful examples and nuggets and wisdom. Honestly, this is a masterclass. Just the experiences that you guys shared and the passion that you shared it with. Clearly, this is definitely a calling that God has placed on your lives. I'm really hopeful that those that have been watching were moved. Hope that you have your notes as well. And listen, the beauty of it is that this is going to be here on OU Launchpad's Facebook page, on the Oakwood University social media channels as well. So you can come back and take a look, and definitely we encourage you to share it and share it and share it again, because we want to make sure that folks understand and know what OU Launchpad is all about, and facilitating these kinds of discussions and sharing this kind of information at this level is definitely a part of that brand. I want to say a word of thanks not only to Stanley but to the entire panel. for taking time out and of your day and your time and your schedule to share with us today and to lend from your considerable experience and expertise. You did so in a way that really warrants mention, because truly, I was definitely benefited by what was shared today. I've written down some of your names. I might be calling you. I host a show every Monday, small plug, that I definitely want to get a couple of you guys on as well. But man, really, this has truly been an amazing discussion. Really hope that the students' questions that were answered were watching and that they really took those notes down as well. Did anybody want to have any final word that they wanted to mention? I know Stanley passed the mic over back to me really quickly. I appreciate that, but I just want to make sure if there's something burning on your heart that you wanted to share. I don't want you to leave with that in you. I want you to be able to release that to those who are watching. So I just want to take a moment. If anybody, I'm looking at your faces. I don't see anybody nodding. Yeah. Go ahead.
Somebody in the comments asked
yes.
Me and Jana to tell us about your sweatshirts. So Jana,
yes, please do. Go ahead.
Somebody in the comments said Jana and Kavon, can both of you tell us about your sweatshirts?
Yes, please go ahead. Tell them about the sweatshirts.
Go ahead, Jana.
And Jana's like, come on, Jana.
Put on a spot.
Right. Now I got a nail on my couch. It's not going to look that professional, but here we go. So yeah, it just says I got 99 problems, but thanks to 57 Northampton, I'm coping pretty well.
Oh, that's nice.
I like that.
Nice. I like that. So tell us the story behind that, and then we'll come back to Kavon.
Yeah, the story behind that. I run 57 Northampton. It's a mental health advocacy nonprofit where we basically teach mental health and coping strategies for people. We also give free therapy to people that don't have access to mental health care.
Right.
But part of the thing that we do is just teaching people regular ways that you can deal with tough things like trauma, grief, death, anger, fear, how to deal with those things and like move through it in a productive way.
Yes,
So
that's excellent.
this shirt, really, it's, I got 99 problems, but because of us, I'm handling them though. I know how to do it.
You're coping well. I like it. You're conquering that mountain. Talk to us about yours, Kavon.
So this is my brand, Soul Purpose. It's all about inspiring people to discover and live in their purpose, right? So you go to our website. That's our value proposition. No matter who you are, we'll help you discover your purpose, right? Speak on stage across the country, helping thousands of people discover their purpose, and started this brand as a way for people to live in it. So its hoodie is our legacy. My purpose is t-shirt, right? It comes blank. You could write it in. You could do artwork. You could go to our website and find like other customized designs that relate to you. Shout out to Frederick. I saw that Shopify order come in. My brother, so I appreciate that. You know what I mean?
That's good.
Everybody be like Frederick. Go to soulpurpose.com.
Listen, I'm on there right now, man. I'm on there right now. I'm about to click purchase. So that's good.
So that's what the search is about. Just living in your purpose, man, and being the best version of yourself.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, Kim, did you want to say a few words to the folks before we close it out? I just want to make sure that we hear from everybody before we have our closing prayer.
The only thing I can say is that to Frederick's point about pivoting,
yes,
we're in the process of doing that now because as a salon, our core clients have come back, but we're not getting this. We're still in a pandemic, so some people aren't comfortable. And some of our elderly clients are really not comfortable, and we don't want them to feel this. So we are pivoting, and so I'm trying to figure out ways to take my success and my knowledge of 35 years of doing this, and then the fact that my family's only for even longer, and take that to the next level. So that was the last thing, is that you always got to be able to have room to be able to shift and move and to do something different.
That's gold.
I mean, I'm not leaving the salon, but doing something different within the salon.
No, I got you, and that's good. I think that's great. I mean, repurposing, but also shifting and recognizing the times, and understanding what else can you draw out of the knowledge and experiences that you've had over that long standing career. I mean, that's gold, because you have that wealth of knowledge to draw from. So really appreciate that, man. Stanley, man, listen, you were hosting all this time, and so nobody was able to kind of kick it to you. I want to just kind of put the spotlight on you real quick. What you got, man? Talk to us. You're gonna close us out, unless I'm looking to see, maybe Terrell might have something to say. But
yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay, go ahead, Doc.
Kavon.
Yes.
I guess. So this is really cool packaging, and I feel like you have an amazing brand. Like, I'm glad I was able to get this package, and it really. So this is what it looks like when it comes in. Wow. This is the shirt.
Oh, that's dope.
So
I like that.
This is like the branding. So you have like your purpose, like gives you like the little steps. I know my camera is kind of light, but amazing packaging.
It's picking up the white, but that's gold. Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the support. It's the 3 steps to discovering your purpose. So I appreciate the support, for real.
Yeah, I can't wait for mine to come in. I really can't wait for mine to come in now. Now I might have to buy a couple more just to get the box.
These are great gifts to give to anybody. Like,
listen, man. I wish I seen that before Christmas, man. Come on, Stanley, talk to us.
Appreciate all the support, fellas. Truly.
Oh, no doubt, man. No. We and I think I don't listen, man. I wasn't a part of the panel, but if I could just add my 2 cents, but I would say, man, one of the things that I love about what we're seeing on screen right now is that the support that we can have for one another. I mean, so Kavon has said it a couple of times. He says appreciate the support, but this is what we really need to be doing more of, shining this floodlight on one another. It's one of the things my show is poised to do and aims to do every week. Is the show is entitled How It All Works, and what we do is try to shine that floodlight on people and skill sets and careers and disciplines and brands that people might not know about, but they need to know about. And we really need to do better at making sure we all kind of know what we got going on, and so that we can support one another. Stanley, I've been trying to give you the mic for all this time, man. Talk to us, man.
Before I begin, I'd like to say I'm definitely going to purchase a shirt. I like the boxes as well. So
listen. We passing the plate right now. The deacons are saying, is there one more? Is there 2 more? Is there 3 more?
No. My team and I definitely going to pick up a few. So
I like it.
Definitely like that. Yeah. I love this. Obviously, I don't want to be redundant. I do like this integration of minds. Everybody contributed to something that was very valuable. I took a lot of notes, like I said. But what I liked was the synergy in the room. Everybody definitely piggyback on each other. And it was like more of a motivative, like you said, it was like a masterclass. And I enjoyed the time. And everybody, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Had a great time. It's probably the longest 2 hours. But it didn't seem that way, though. But thank you. I appreciate it.
No, not a problem, man. And we appreciate you and the work and the effort you did to put together the questions and organize things. I just wanted to answer this question. I see T.O. Guy put it in the chat as well, but some King Q Dot asked, where can I get the hoodie? So I just put that on screen real quick. But T.O. Guy put it in there as well. So if you could probably click on his link. So I just want to make sure that folks know where you can go to get the hoodies, and so that again we can support one another. I'm going to take the banner down now because I can't have it on top of Miss Kim's face like that. That's not right. I got to get it off the screen. I got to get it off the screen. So, but I just wanted to close it out and say, man, what a week we have experienced. From the beginning with Dr. Sabas, with talking about the entrepreneurship ideation, mindset, and spirit. Then we had the live show where we had two powerhouse entrepreneurs, Julian Waddell and Marshall Fox, on there. It was a phenomenal experience. And then we gave out the 2021 How It All Works Entrepreneurship Award. And that was a special moment for those that watched it. If you didn't, go back and watch the replay. If you didn't, go back and watch the replay. They say repetition deepens the impression. So I'm going to just say it one more time. If you didn't, go back and watch the replay. And then on Tuesday, we had that pitch competition. It was sponsored by Collab. Folks, that was amazing. We got a chance to see 6 students, 6 up-and-coming companies pitch their brands, pitch their ideas to investors. 3 of them walked away with cash, cold, hard cash to put in the bank account and invest in their businesses. Really great to see that. And not just great to see students do that, but to see students of color, right? fulfilling that biblical principle to be a lender and not a borrower. I love that. I love that. So that pitch competition was phenomenal. And then yesterday we got a chance to talk to Brandon Sadler and see his entire studio. And for those that missed that, Jana said it really good earlier. I want to make sure you just piggyback on that again. Brandon Sadler, this is the artist, the muralist behind Zuri's iconic lab in the epic blockbuster hit Black Panther. I mean, he showed us the designs, guys. He showed us that. I mean, we were fangirling out, right, Jana? He showed us the designs. He showed us 2 designs that didn't make it into the movie, and they were hot too. So trust me on this. You're going to want to go back, catch the replay. Later in the evening, our minds were literally blown by Mayor Matthew Pygott with Founders of Civilization, helping us recognize and link our history to history, the history of people, the history of Africans to the history of the world. And I mean, I have actually watched that over again. Unfortunately, we had an issue there with copyright, so we had to take that down. But we're going to try and figure out ways to make that pieces of that available. But you definitely want to check out Mayor Matthew Pygott. That guy is amazing. Then we close it out tonight with this panel. And really, the focus has been all week long to highlight and shine a floodlight on this other pathway that colleges should be about as well. Not just graduating workers, but graduating business owners, graduating people who are going to pursue their idea in the workplace, in the workforce, so that what God has placed in them, they can release it to the world. And who knows, right? That business may benefit you. That business may benefit your family. That business may change the way the world looks. And it's all because they were obedient, and maybe because they got an idea from the 2021 OU Entrepreneurship Week. It's been my absolute pleasure to host this week. It's been my absolute pleasure to be with you each and every day of this week. And we hope that we can bring pieces of the ribbon cutting to you tomorrow, although it will not be live. But this is our last time that we'll be signing off. We want to say a word of thanks again for your support and for your attention and your time. We will see you next year for another Entrepreneurship Week. Later.